Yeah, mental health, gotta look out for self. For real. She's Tyreese McAllister, the therapist on the mic, bringing mental health wisdom, shining bright like a light. Guiding souls to peace, leading minds to the right. With her codes by her side, they soar to new heights. Marcy Trueheart in the mix, mental health advocate, speaking truth, sparking change, grinding like a maverick. Empowering minds, lifting spirits, it's never too late. Together with the crew, just trying to do great. Jamie Tyler in the house, a TV star, champion mental health, taking it far, sharing stories, inspiring minds, raising the bar, with codes by the side, reaching for the stars. Thursday therapy, breaking stigmas all around. With this crew, they here for the town. Mental health help, spreading love profound. Their voices echo loud with a resounding sound. Thursday therapy, here to make a change, spreading love, sharing knowledge in a world so strange. Tyreese, Marcy, Jamie on this mental health range, standing united this far from a game.
Hey, y'all.
What's up?
Hey.
What's up? What's up,
how's everybody?
I've been better, but I'm here. I'm alive. No complaints.
All right, that works.
I'm glad you're better. I'm so glad you're better. That's important. And let's just talk about that real quick. Like, it's flu season. It's a lot of viruses and things going around. So we want to encourage all of our listeners not just to take care of your mental health, but take care of your physical health as well. Some of the things that we know that we can do, like taking care of your immune system when we exercise, when we take vitamins, when we take sea moss, minerals, juicing, are some of the things that you can take care of your body so that you build up your resistance so you don't get sick, or that your recovery is much quicker.
And wear them masks. Listen to me. Wear your mask. Put them back on. Don't try to be cool because it's back. And we don't have the government right now that's going to say something is back again. I'm telling you it's back because I was miserable. I'm still stuffy a little bit. It's not a game, y'all.
Right. And thank you for still showing up while you in recovery. And look, we got this crazy man trying to get confirmed who think Black people should not get vaccines in the same level as white folks. And so just real quick, shout out to our Senator Angela also Brooks, who read him the Riot Act. I don't know if y'all had a chance to see her in action.
I reposted it.
Handled them. Like, oh my God, I was so proud. I was like, oh my God, that's my senator. That's my soror. That's my friend. She handled her business with him. And I just loved it. So shout out to her. But yeah, we in trouble, y'all. We could be in trouble if we don't get woke. We don't wake up.
Yeah.
And we definitely have to with that, especially with because they did confirm him, didn't they?
Not yet. I don't think so.
Okay.
I had to take some time off from the news.
Me too.
So I'm not sure.
Not yet.
Okay.
He's still pending. He got a couple issues with some of them Republicans. So
well, hopefully he won't get confirmed. But even with that, we have to take our health in our own hands. So that means we have to start making healthier choices about our life, our life expectancy, because the government, as you see, like you said, they want to just change anything that, hey, if it got melanin in it, they don't want to put research. And today I just read an email from Dr. Jeffries, which was a post from Dr. Jeffries. She was one of our guests, and anything like as far as research, if it has women, Black, community diversity, Latino, those are just a few that I remember off the top of my head. So they have cut all research. They have cut all research. So no women's research, no Black, no Latino, no community diversity, no research at all. So we have to go back to the ancestors. We got to reach back and what did the ancestors do to keep themselves alive and keep their community alive? we have to, first of all, we have to stick together. And we
Definitely.
have to protect one. We have to first mentally keep yourself intact. Okay.
Right.
And then with that, you have to have a community that we stay together. And that's the only way that we're going to survive these next how many years. If we got to be together, your mental health has to be complete, then your physical health, and then your community health.
Tyreese McAllister.
Oh, you wanted to bring us in again? Okay.
No, I don't know what happened to my computer. My computer got a mind of its own. I'm just checking
your
the phone.
computer want potty.
Right.
No, she did the same man on you. You know how when you start talking and you come on, she thinks she slipped.
I would not do you like that, Marcy. No. Because what you're saying is absolutely true. We do have to stick together, and we just got to do something different. And you know what? To be honest with you, I'm not such a fan of like how the government has dealt with us anyway, even before they stopped the research, because the food in America is trash. And if you poor, you definitely ain't got nothing coming, because all the processed food, the meats that they give us, all the stuff they put in our stuff, a lot of the stuff that's in our food is not even allowed in other countries. It's literally illegal in other countries.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a lot of faith that the government has ever had our back. But right now they kind of blatant about it, right? Like they not even pretending to have our back or be interested in that. And so we really do have to stay grounded. I wanted to share one other thing with you guys that in my work as a therapist, it's been real heavy for me the last 2 weeks, because my clients, and not just my clients, even my friends, people are like frightened, they're scared, they got a lot of anxiety about all that's happening in America. And it's real. Like I can't even say, it's going to be all right, because I really don't know. And so even for me, I'm a therapist with a therapist, but I, could see my therapist once a month or every other month, because I'm usually pretty solid. But I'm thinking I'm gonna have to see somebody every week, because it's been a lot on me. And I also been doing a response for the first responders who are dealing with the plane crash. So literally, it's just been a lot going on in the United States. And all of my clients, like usually I might have 1 or 2 clients that experience like a bad time, but for the most part, they really do really well. But this last week, everybody got something going on major. And so it's just a lot going on. And so we want to continue to let even our listening audience know that even if you don't have a therapist, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to feel the feelings that we feeling, because I want to normalize that a lot of us are concerned about what's going on in the world. And we have things that we can do about it, right? Like, because life is going to continue to life us. So just want to encourage everybody to stay good.
So I got a question, Doc. So
yes,
part of the reason why I started the foundation was so those first responders can, start being more vulnerable and break the stigma of talking to a therapist like yourself. So with the recent events with the airplane, is that the department pushing them to you, or is that them seeking your assistance, or how's all this going?
It's just really us being available, right? So in the event that somebody should say they need some help, right? Like kind of trying to normalize the fact that what you're doing is hard. It's not easy to go and pull bodies out and pull body parts out, right? So even if you're not even a first responder, if you're just watching it on the news, it's a total heaviness. And so we just want to normalize that, like what you all do as first responders is not anywhere near normal. And I think like the average person don't even get what y'all really deal with. And not just that, but your families, because and I'm sure you can attest to the fact that when you would come home after a rough day, it impacts everybody in your household differently. Not to mention your household is probably always anxious that if somebody calls or knocks that you might not be coming home, right? Or that you might be injured on a job. And so even for family members who or people who love law enforcement or firefighters, that it could be a rough space to be in. And I always looked at you guys as superheroes, but I think what has really even changed that to make the job even harder is that a lot of people in the public don't even respect the work that y'all do, like been disrespectful, because there have been some bad police officers, and there have been, like, I can't take nothing away. There's some people that, they shouldn't be police officers. But a majority of law enforcement, firefighters, people who drive and work for ambulance, um, are really good people who started in the profession wanting to serve and do something amazing for people. So it's not anybody necessarily pushing, but to normalize it because they have it. And I can say, um, I know in the last 3 years since I've been training law enforcement, it has gotten much better. Like I see a lot of men, I see a lot of law enforcement, firefighters, people who traditionally would not come to counseling. So, and I always thank you for using your platform to bring attention to it, because when we did the show, and if y'all haven't seen the show, it's season 3, episode 8. If you haven't seen it, that was a game changer for a lot of people, that people really were able to look at that segment and see that the human side of police officers, because I think people do forget that you guys are human and want to get home at the end of the night as well.
And I'll add to that, and it's a great segue into our guest tonight. Just like the impact I seen had, the impact of myself and my son seeing is how I met our guest tonight, because he watched it live and reached out to me via Instagram, and we've been connected ever since. But once we meet him, we can talk about that. But that's exactly how we met, from that show.
Yeah. And that's another thing, like that you have stress at work, but then you also have the everyday stresses that everybody else have, like child rearing, marriages, growth, food going up, gas prices going up, things break down in your house, like all the stresses that we all have on an everyday basis. First responders also have that, and then the work related stress. So the life expectancy for first responders is not as long as the average person. And the statistic that I always share, which to me was really compelling and really got me more into the work, that the average person experienced 4 critical incidents or traumatic events in their lifetime, right? Like 4. So me personally, I'm up to 2, and I'm like, Lord, when the other 2 gonna happen, right? So I can think of 2 life-changing events for me. Then, but law enforcement, specifically law enforcement, experienced 44. And that's just in their career, not over their lifetime. So lifetime, you're thinking maybe 80 years, right? 75, 80 years, you experience 4. But law enforcement experience 44 in just the time they're in their career. So you're talking age 21 to maybe 55, right? That's a lot. And if it goes unchecked, it turns into other things. It turns into the heart disease. It turns into shorter life expectancy. It turns into multiple divorces, and problems rearing your children, right? Like it turns into those things. And so we want to make sure that, like, this has been my thing, that what can we do for our superheroes, right? You don't just let them suffer, like you do something about it. So that's why I've dedicated my my private practice to really working with law enforcement and their families, while I see other people, like that's my primary target. Yeah. So I feel like I'm the superhero to the superheroes.
You are a superhero. I was just gonna say that.
Thank you. You know what? I got a text message today, and hopefully they're listening because I reminded them about our show. But a guy that came through my class and that I've been kind of coaching. I'm not his therapist because we became friends. But his therapist is not as available to him, and he wants more time. He was saying that, that he really felt I was dope with, how I did my work, and that it made me feel really special and really proud that because you can do your job. I'm gonna get my check no matter what, but do I have an impact? And that's important to me. I want to have an impact. I want to be able to change people's lives and improve their life, and so that was a feel-good moment for me. And I needed that. I needed that this week because the week has been hard. It's been a hard week dealing with what I'm dealing with. So I'm grateful. But enough about me. Marcy, what you do this week, and then we're gonna bring our guests on.
You know what? I don't know. It was kind of crazy. So I forgot. It's a trauma response of stress. But okay. I did go belly dancing. I did do that. So
well, I mean, you did have some stress. You had car issues, which I think that is and it's important to talk about. Like, how do we deal with everyday stresses?
Yeah, I definitely had car issues. From Sunday up until like my mechanic just left, and then he has to come back tomorrow because somebody sent me the wrong part. So that really has stressed me out. But it stressed me out, and some other stresses happened. But what I had to do in the midst of the stress was sit in the gratefulness. Monday things just went all crazy. Starting Sunday night. And I wasn't able to get to work Monday. I wasn't able to work at all. So I had to, just take a day off, which I hadn't planned on. And that was a stressor. And I was stressing out, and God allowed me, I took a good hour to just freak out. But also he was telling me, after you freak out, I need you to sit in gratefulness. In spite of everything has gone to hell in a handbasket, I need you to sit here, and I need you to sit in gratefulness. Despite your car messing up, despite you not being able to log in, despite you can't move right now, but I need you to still sit in your gratefulness. So even like I literally had to start thanking God for, and as we speak things into existence, I thanked him for my car being fixed and not to be able to have to call my mechanic no time soon. I just had to just speak life into myself. And as I spoke life into myself, the chaos was still there, but the way I looked at the chaos was totally different. So, and then sitting in that gratefulness, then I had to ask God, what do you want me to learn from this?
Okay.
So yeah, that was my weekend. And it still is mine right now.
That's right. I want to give a shout out to my god brother Dennis, who is listening to us from New York City. Thank you so much for tuning in. So we're gonna bring up our guests. Mr. James.
Hold up. I want to give a good shout out to our number one fan. I don't care what nobody says, to our number one fan, Jason. We absolutely love you.
Yes, Jason is always tuned in. Thank you.
He is our number one
appreciate fan. That. Well, he probably tuned in because Jamie's here. I don't know. Jason, let us know who Jason, you here for real, Jay.
Jason loves you guys. Don't got nothing to do with me.
That's right, because it's that Gemini power. That's me and him too. That's that Gemini power.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna bring up Mr. James Oxley, who is a minister, military retiree, right?
Yes, correct.
A father, pastor,
actor.
Like just
a mental health advocate.
Yes, all the things. Yes, all the things. So Jamie was just sharing actually how you guys met. You reached out to Jamie. Tell us about that, and then tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Again, thank you for the introduction. And again, my name is James Oxley, Washingtonian. I live in the Prince George's County area for 20 plus years now. I met Jamie Tyler, first on the internet. And it was an episode with him and Quick was getting into, having discussion over children, over, young kids. And I had just went through my tragedy. So I'm listening to what Quick was saying. I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense. And I'm listening to what Jamie said, and I seen the episode of, Jamie and little Jamie, when they had that explosion. And I'm like, this is more in line what is really happening, especially with men and young men, with fathers and young men. They when they get to a certain age, they feel as though they want to challenge the authority, and that's what happened in my family and with me. So I reached out and I sent an email and I mean a message. I think it was through IG or one of the IG, telling him my story, and I was agreeing with what Jamie was saying and disagreeing with what Quick was saying. Um, and then he reached back out, and then Stan Long, of Spotlight of the City, he Terry Long had given him a birthday party. It was his 55th birthday, and they invited me out to their house. So I'm in the house, all these guests coming through, all these people, and they was like, "Oh, there's Jamie Tyler right there." I was like, "Oh," I said, I think that's the guy I was talking to on IG, on IG. And he was in there milling around, socializing. And then I think I spoke to him first and introduced myself. He's like, you, and then he was like, you, the guy I was talking to on IG. And then ever since we just connected, and it was a genuine connection. It wasn't forced. It wasn't any of that. It was strictly genuine. And I picked up his spirit, and he had like a very positive, genuine spirit. I'm a Scorpio, so I read people very well. And his spirit was just so genuine and positive. And it was like, this is somebody I wouldn't mind being in their circle of friends, because I don't have a lot of friends. I keep my circle very small, and I don't have a lot of friends. And we've been connected ever since. I think it's going on what, 2 years now.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And just to
That's our
piggyback,
Jamie. That I mean, when Jamie, you just he is just personable, and I don't know about a lot of stars and stuff, but like I ain't never met nobody more humble than the Tylers. Like they
Yeah.
just, I mean, they just good people. And I'm not just saying it because he graced us to be down with Thursday therapy, but just, I mean that from my heart. I loved the entire Tyler family. It ain't
Hmm.
even just Jamie, it's the entire Tyler family, to the mother and the mother-in-law and the father. And even Uncle Jack. Hey, Uncle Jack.
Right.
but to piggyback on what he said, his message went into my filter.
Oh
So
yeah.
I get a lot of just spam and just junk and all kind of stuff. But when I started reading his message, and when I say hit me right here, and he'll tell the story shortly, but
Hmm.
that's when I reached back and I was like, and we went back and forth for a little bit, not knowing I'm gonna see him like a couple weeks later.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, he did tell me. He said it went. He said this went into my filter. He said normally I don't check those. He said, but I checked it. And also, just real quick before we get into it, I also grew up in the same neighborhood that his wife grew up in, Irena. I live right around the corner from her. Same neighborhood, so it was like a small world coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then too, James, I have had a chance to be in your presence a couple of times. And I think I'm not sure if it was the first time or what, but like at one of the times was at the Tyler home. And in your presence too, just really amazing. I think it was your mom's birthday too, or something like that. We were together Memorial Weekend. But yeah, just the Tylers surround themselves with good people, and it's just easy to be in their presence. You don't feel like I mean they just know how to welcome people.
Yep.
So I appreciate that about Jamie and you, right? Like we were able to kick it and talk, and just really, really good. You mentioned I want to before we go into your tragedy, because we're going to talk about that. I want to talk to you both about like being fathers of sons and like the challenge that could be. We have a lot of young men and women growing up without a father in the home, and then I can just tell you, my daughter grew up with her father in the home and really didn't have an appreciation of how special that really was, right? Until she realized when she got in high school and then went away to college that many of her friends didn't have a father. So while she looked at her father as a pain in her butt because he was checking her about how she dressed, checking her about, just things that fathers should check their daughters on, she couldn't appreciate it, not until she became an adult. So talk about, just some of the stuff that you want to share about raising children, or especially sons.
What? Me or Jamie?
Both of y'all.
He can go first.
All right. So I I was born in '69. I'm the oldest of 13. You know, my father had between my father, my mother, and my stepmoms. And I had no brothers. I had no sisters. I had no older brothers or sisters. So in my mother and my father, when they was married, my mother was 15 when she was pregnant with me. Had me at 16. My father was 17, turned 18, and they had my sisters in that union. So I had to, and then I was light skinned. I was a light skinned kid, and I learned colorism from high school. I went to elementary school. I went to St. Elementary School with Taraji P. Henson. And in that school, I learned colorism because I had a big curly, I ain't got it now, but I had the big curly bush with the waves, and I knew nothing about, I was always a shy kid, I was a nerd, be honest with you, you know, but they brought out a different part of me. They brought out a protection part. They brought out a beast mode in me, and I had to defend myself. But at the same time, I didn't want to lose my humanity. I didn't want to lose my kindness. I didn't want to lose the love that I have for the people. So I had to pray to God. I've been reading the Bible since I was 5 years old. And I had to, commune with God and have a relationship with Him. So as I got older, my father wasn't really in my life. So when I was able to meet my father at 5 as well, um, and I was getting older, I was able to then go and hang out with my stepbrothers over his house. So he wasn't really instrumental in my life like that because he was young and he was party hardy and things of that nature. So, and then they was like, "You just like your father, Jimmy. You gonna be just like him." And I was like, "I don't want to be nothing like this dude, right?" I love him. Don't get me twisted. I love my father, and I had to honor my father and my mother, because that's what the Bible told me to do. And I seen his protective. He's very protective. He was a crazy guy, right? And I know where I got some of my stuff from, but I said I didn't want to be anything like him. So when I got married, well, when I first met so I've been in relationships since I was 15. I was engaged when I was 15. Lasted for 4 years, and then I met my son's mother in '90. And my son was born in '92, and that was my oldest son. And then I met my wife in '94, and we lasted for 27 years until death did us part. But anyway, when I had my oldest son, I said, and he and his mother, I wanted to marry his mother, but I was still wild. I was running the street, so I was opposite of Jamie. Out there. So I was the bad boy. So I was the opposite, and she was growing up, and I was still going to school, getting myself together. I was just introduced to the world, and I said I didn't want to have a child out of wedlock. I didn't. I wanted to be a father. I wanted to be married. She didn't marry. She ended up going back to her mother's house and took my son. So then, when I waited 8 years into my marriage, 8 years into my marriage before I decided to let's have another child because I wanted to make sure this lasts forever. And then we had my oldest son in the marriage, and then right after that, that was 9/11. He was born in 9/11, and then right after that, my second son came. So I've had men children, kids for since '92. Now, I'm not a sports dad per se. I'm a boxer. I'm more contact, mixed martial arts and boxing. I'm not football, basketball, and all that. And I'm also an actor, so I was doing a lot of acting, performing, and things of that nature. So I would get my oldest son when I could get him, when she would let. So I was battling back and forth with, his mom at the time, and it just wasn't right. And I wanted to teach him things and of that nature. But when I got married, the kids was in my home. My sons were in my home. So I knew that I wanted them to look up to and have a role model for a dad. So I made sure that I stayed in school. So I joined the military, and fast forward, I went from getting my bachelor's BS degree to my MBA last year in 2023, and I retired from the military in 2022. But then we had four more kids. So total, I had 5 boys. And I wanted, and what you said, one of the things you said is challenging. It could be challenging because I'm also still a young dad. You know what I'm saying? I'm not in my mind, in my physical, I'm not one of the, even though I'm 50 or 40, I still didn't seem like the old, when you're growing up and the dads were like 50, you're like, damn, they old. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel that. You know what I'm saying? And I never felt that. And I still don't feel that. So my sons have a young father, you know, and I'm going to give them the knowledge and education of what it was that I had to go through the struggle for them to live in this 4,500 square foot home and have to pay for no bills, no like. I had to eat hot sauce, mayonnaise sandwiches, roaches, and everything else when I was growing up. These kids don't know what that's like. They are entitled. They entitled children, and they don't know what it's like for us to have the struggle to get them to have their own private room. They got their own bathroom in their bedrooms. You know what I'm saying? They pay no bills. They eat up all the food. They use up all the water. They come and go as they please. You know, and when my wife was alive, I can remember having a conversation, and we go on trips. We do family trips, Turks and Caicos, Disney cruise. I mean, we go on nice lavish trips, and we VIP. We don't, so our kids can have that, same experience. And then we had them write essays about their experiences. So when they grow up, get their wives, they can do the same thing. They don't have to dummy down and settle for less and things like that, because God gave us the ability to have these things. So my sons, they wanted it now. They're getting older, and they want to, assert authority or go back and forth. Have my wife and us, going back and forth with each other over what they want to do. No, your dad said no, and the like such. So I can remember one time, one of my sons said, "Yeah, but such cold, and they play basketball and play football and things like that." And I can remember my wife clear as day, and I can hear she said, "Yeah, because he's a weekend dad. Your father here is with y'all each and every day, and we go on all kinds of trips." So they compared me to their weekend father, their weekend friend, their friend's weekend father, who only seen them every other weekend. But here it is, you have a father that's in the house, that's protecting you, that's providing for you, that's loving on you, and they take that for granted.
Yeah.
The kids on the other side that don't have that, and I kept telling them, will love to trade places with you in a heartbeat, and I will send you to them and let you have their experience and see how it is. I guarantee you'll come back with more appreciation. I'll let Jamie talk, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, man, you spot on, and this is why I can appreciate this conversation, because all of us on here have adult kids, well, adult children, and that was my issue with that scene with Quick on the show when he keep finding himself trying to lecture me about how to parent little Jamie when you have a small teenage son at the time. Little Jamie's a man, and talking with you three just clarifies my feelings toward him, his input about me, because like you can't tell me how to raise a man. You don't have one. He hasn't even started shaving and trying to steal your car, like all that. Like
Right.
you ain't got there yet, bro. I mean, you gonna tell me I would never call my son a bum and all the different little shots he took at me all season. That's just why I appreciate you guys everything you just said. Because just like you said, that weekend dad, that's because that weekend dad is lit. He ain't the one in here all week long fussing, cleaning your room up. Go do your
Exactly.
homework. Go do this. Do what your mother said. He get them on that weekend and just turn up. We turn up. We all want to go. Whatever y'all want to do. So yeah, their friends are gonna be like, damn, y'all having fun, this and that and the third. My father always fussing, or like she said, her daughter said her dad is always. That's because we love these kids. Yeah, like we love these kids, and for me, I was raised by my father. My parents split when I was 8, and so that's all I ever knew was to kind of try to mirror what I learned from him growing up. And I think I spoke on it. Hey, beautiful. Hey.
Okay, Bob.
So that's kind of what I was saying on the show, one of those episodes, when I was saying coming up in the 80s, and I'm 4 years behind him. Like, you needed that man in your life to, like, my father was on my ass all the time from elementary school till I left when I was 22 years old. So when I come off aggressive on TV or too hard on him, I knew that worked for me. And I think that's when I had to get with Doc and see if it was me mentally, like something maybe not connecting with this new generation. And I had to hear it from Dr. Cunningham, Dr. McAllister, like, and then my peers who got adult kids, like everybody was like, "You're not alone. You might got this fall back. Because you right now, you want it more than he do. And I know I did, because I was trying to show him what worked for me. And like I just did this 30 some odd years ago with him. And he was telling me everything I'm telling you. And I turned out okay, I think. But this generation, they just different. Like you said, they entitled. We worked hard to give them this house and their clothes. Like, I was buying, I say tennis shoes. I know she probably say sneakers. I was buying tennis shoes every week for all the kids. Every week. Old Navy every week. The Gap every week. And what was they wearing back then? Warner Brothers. Like, that's how we was way back when. But then here we are today, now that they're adults, and it's like it's thrown back in our face. Like, you supposed to did that.
I just want to say that parenting is absolutely the hardest job we'll ever have, right? I can't think of any other job, because even like first responder, that's a hard job, but it doesn't compare to parenting, right? Because it's so much on you. And it really, you really just hoping that everything turns out all right with your kid, right? And for the most part, they will. They're gonna have bumps and bruises, and that's okay. Like, I think the issue that I'm seeing as a therapist when I'm doing counseling with families is that we don't want our kids to bump their head. We want to prevent it. Nah, we gotta let them bump their head, because really that's how they're gonna learn. Right. So you bump your head and you get that knot up there, then maybe you'll know, don't do that no more. Right. And so we really just have to kind of let go. And that is very hard, especially for moms, right? Dads are usually a little bit better with that, right? Like, so sometimes in a household, there might be some differences on the mom is spoiling them, the mom is doing way more, especially for sons, right? And even like with my daughter, my husband does a lot for her. He paying her tickets. I'm like, she keep getting too many tickets. Stop paying them. Let her pay them. Let her have that bill, right? Because otherwise she's not gonna learn, because it ain't hurting her. So it's a pain point that really helps our kids. But I think you both are phenomenal dads. And we just got to really, keep our kids in prayer, because they are dealing with stuff that we didn't really have to deal with, right? Like, the social media is a whole new thing. The proliferation of drugs and guns. Like, we had drugs in our community, and it was clear like who was doing it and who wasn't. But now the drugs are so different, and there's so much more available. Like, I would have never thought of smoking or vaping in no school bathroom. I would have never did that, right? Like, that's crazy to me. But you got 10 and 11-year-olds who doing this. So, we really do have to pray for our kids and their generation. And then all they have to go through, right? But we got to let our kids bump their heads and tear their tails up on their own, and then be there for them to be like, yeah, I tried to tell you, not throwing it in their face, but like just allowing them to have those moments. Okay.
And let me speak from a single mother's perspective of raising a young boy. My son was taller than me when he was 12. And I, single, I was living with my parents, but still I had to be, I wasn't the father, but I had to be the authority figure. Yeah, he's my only, because I was like, you know what? I'm one and done. Don't want to do this ever again. But also I had to let my son know. One time he got out of pocket, and I had to pull out, my gangster that he never really saw. And that was the only time he tried me. But I also, during that time, I didn't box, but I learned Taibo. And when I tell you, this left jab would sit you down, but I had to give it to him one good time. And at 36, he still remember I rocked that complete world. But unfortunately, he didn't have a father. He had men in his life, but his father wasn't present. So I had to learn. I had to show him how to treat women, but I could not be the man to show him to be a man, because I can't stand when a woman say I got to be the mother and the father. No, you're just going to be the mother, because you can never replace that father figure.
Yeah. I must say, Keith is wonderful. My nephew is wonderful.
Okay, that's all his aunties think that. Okay, thanks.
I just wanted to say one bump my head moment, and then I'm gonna let James talk. 1988. I'm 15, trying to drive. You know, back in the day, we want to get our license at 16, and I was so pressed to drive back there. And my father said, "Stop riding around with these young teenagers driving." And I'm like, I ain't riding with him. Whole time I'm with him because I want to drive. I'm like, let me drive. And they telling me no. Some of them let me. Fast forward to this one day, we skipped school. We all over somebody's house in Fort Washington. And I worked at Pizza Hut. So it was like, I said, let me go get my check. And my man had a little car. He was like, nah, man, you don't have your license. I said, man, you know how to drive. He said, all right, well, I'll take you. So everybody get in the car, let's go. I said, well, let me drive. He said, no. He said, you don't have your license. So I go get in the Bronco with my other buddies. Man, we wrong. We supposed to be in school. It's like noon. I felt so bad because I was being petty. I got out the Bronco, got back in the car with him. And sure as I'm sitting here today, it's by the grace of God. The Bronco, 5 minutes later, hit a car head on, killing the driver. Mm. And the two guys in the car were in critical condition and ended up surviving. And now we're all adults now. And I had to tell him, like, why wasn't you in school? Like, I caught hell. And all I can remember is getting bombed out. Like, didn't I tell you? Like, I told you X, Y, Z. Stop doing X, Y, Z. And from that day on, I said, I don't know what it is or why I'm still here. Because where I would have been sitting, that truck was like a pancake. It flipped multiple times. So.
And you know what? I'm glad you shared that story, Jamie. And it's a reminder too that when our kids do stuff wrong, because they're gonna do stuff wrong, that we also did it. Like, you don't have to lose your stuff because your kid cut school, because we cut school. I'm not saying don't discipline them. I'm not saying don't say anything to them, but just remember that you did it and you still turned out all right. So it's not the end of the world when the kid, I think sometimes parents go all the way in and don't know how to pull back, you know what I'm saying? Like, discipline and then let it go, because they will learn the lessons if we allow them to have the experiences, right? Like you did. So yeah, good. Thank you for sharing that. James, did you want to say something else before we move on?
Yeah, but just real quick, what you just said, and these, because I didn't hit my kids, you know, for some reason the women like would, you know, my wife did the disciplining because I knew that I had a lot to lose. They could have lied on me, said, you know, call the police, said I did this, did that, and I was in the military. I could have lost my, you know, credentials for the military. I could have lost a lot of things. So mine was mainly verbal and sharing my life story with them, and so the spirit came, and then I was, you know, talking, then others conversations I was here. What Jamie was saying is these kids weren't built like us. They're not built like us at all, you
Not
know.
at all.
And so I had to come up with a different mindset of how to discipline these kids. Like my father, you know, if my mother called my father and he came pick me up because I hooked school or did something, whatever, he would come pick me up in his van, his black van. He used to be with Easy Van Club and all that back in the day. And he would come pick me up, and I can remember sitting in the middle, and he had that stupid Jerry curl juice. And this bama turned around and punched me in my jaw. This man hit me in my jaw, and I'm a tough dude, so I'm like, this dude just hit me in my jaw. He don't even know me like that. You know what I'm saying?
With that jerry curl juice?
With the jerry curl juice. With the yellow bottle with the S curl thing on it. Yeah, he got the windows flying down, so the juice hitting you all in your face because you're sitting right there in the middle, smoking a joint. Oh, the double Dutch bus.
Hey, they all had it, man. The 80s, man. The 80s.
Man, dude.
The 80s, they were terrible.
Jesus. This man, I mean, he loved that Jerry curl, boy. Got that thing done faithfully, you know. But I was built. I was built to take it because I had to fight all my life. I had to fight all my life, you know. But these kids don't have that. They not built for that. Soon you yell at them, they feelings.
They break down. But you know what? The government has done that to us too, right? Like, that's another way they have infiltrated in our community and in our homes because kids start getting this 1-800 number. Right. And you could call, and then people are afraid to lose their benefits or their job, or or their kids get taken away from them. You know what I mean? Like, and I just took a page out of my mother's book, because when I say my mother tore my tail up, baby, she got that. Like, she did that.
Yeah, my mama was. She needed therapy.
I just said that I'm not gonna let, if I don't beat them, the world is gonna beat them. Like, so, I'm not gonna beat them for everything, but I have got to show them that it's certain things in this household you're not gonna be able to do, right? Like, you gotta be able to do that and be a parent, because they don't want you to discipline your children, but they don't have no problem killing them when they're out of line. So we gotta really look at that, and really pay for parents who really want to parent their kids, because discipline is a part of love. It says in the Bible says, spare the rod and spoil the child. So there should be some discipline. I want to say, hey, shout out to my aunt Ethel, who's watching, and my cousin Ronnie. She said, if I was a daddy's girl and he never hit me, but I still knew he was not for play. Right. And I think that
same thing. My dad wouldn't hit me. Yeah, my father wouldn't hit me because he was like, yeah, your mama crazy, so why I need to hit you?
But also, if you start at a young age, you don't have to, like, my mother didn't have to keep hitting me. I didn't like to be hit. So if I ever got a beating, it was one time. And it was like, I learned, like, she don't like that, don't do that no more. So I didn't keep doing stuff. And some people had those children, because my daughter Deja, honey, you're gonna have to hurt her, because she gonna keep doing what she want to do. And some kids are built like that. They just stubborn. Go ahead, James. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, real quick. So here's another wisdom and knowledge that God gave me. Our parents learn from their parents, from their parents, from their parents who and grandparents who were slaves. The slave owners beat them to keep them in check. That same curse passed down to our generations. So every time they beat us, they're actually beating us like a slave. They're actually punishing us and creating PTSD in our psyche, and we didn't even realize that we were being damaged. That's why when you hit kids, they feel like you're against them. You're like another bully on the street, and it's psychologically it damages them. And when we if you do it, you notice also that you feel the same hurt and pain when you inflict that on them. So we're traumatizing one another, and we're causing PTSD within our family. And that's why a lot of these kids and children either rebelling now, turning against their parents, or going out here wrecking them up. Because when my father hit me, I went out here like I'll beat anybody. You can't hit harder than my father. And I was out here tearing people up. But when they started with me, because I never started a fight, but I will finish it. And so we inflict these same pains, these same punishments that the slave owners, the slave master inflicted on our great grandparents, and it just passed down from generation to generation. So
James, let me jump in there real quick,
Sure.
because I'm not in total disagreement with you, but I want to add another caveat too.
Sure.
That in a time when our family members were enslaved, part of them beating their children was also so that the slave owner would not kill them, right? Like, I gotta teach this kid don't talk back. I gotta teach this kid don't run amok, because you running amok is going to get both of us beat, right? And so some of that, and you can read about it in Dr. DeGrye's book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, that some of those beatings, and I'm not disagreeing that some of it is, post-traumatic stress. Lord knows I got it from the whoopings I got. But, and because we're also not in slavery times either, right? Some of that was to save them. Like, I got to keep this kid quiet. I got to teach this kid not to talk back or to run around, because it even goes back to when somebody would say, oh, that's a strong boy you got. And the parents would say stuff like, no, he's weak. He's not that good. He ain't going to amount to nothing. Like, we're talking negative about our children right in front of them, because we don't want the slave owner to sell them. Like, no, he's not all that. He's sickly. right? Like he ate this and he not that, because we trying to keep our children. So some of that stuff, we done got jacked up here in the United States. America has not been kind to our people. So yeah, but listen, I wonder if we can stop here with that part so that we have enough time to talk about some of the other stuff.
Okay.
So one of the reasons why you and I connected is because we both had a major tragedy in our lives, which resulted in losses, right? So if you could just tell us about your situation, and then we'll continue on.
Yeah. And I say that, again, that connection also stimulated from me knowing Jamie, Jamie knowing you, and Jamie say, hey, I want to introduce you to somebody. And that's how, also how we
He the
connected as well.
plug.
Right. He's the
Jamie the
plug, right?
plug. Him and Marcy.
He's the source. We
Both of
plugged
them, they the
into him.
plugs.
Right.
I'm just happy to know both of them.
Right. He's the source. We plugged into him.
Yeah.
So again, going back to how we met in January 6th of 2022, just prior to that, leading up to that, probably 3 months leading into in 2021, that we found out that our then, because all I say, all my kids are sport, all they get everything, and our 15-year-old son was, no exception, and he was short in stature, pretty little boy with curly hair. And I mean, he ended up hitting a growth spurt, but at the time he was short in stature. So, from elementary all the way up to high school, little girls would pick on him, hit him on the butt, do different things to him, and he would get in trouble. Then we'll find out the true story. But and yet, he was on Chop Junior, so we had him on Chop Junior. He was on an episode of Chop Junior, and we called him, his name Do Too Much, because he always was trying to do too much instead of just sticking to the main ingredient. And um, as he got into high school, he got into a fight. We found out what happened, and it wasn't his fault. But he wanted to play football because our kids went to Christian school up until um, uh, elementary, and they wanted to play football and sports, so we let them go to elementary public schools, which we didn't want them to do, but that's what they wanted to do. So in high school, we let him play football. So he played for Frederick Douglass football team, and then the seasons was ending, and then he wanted a job. So again, we just let him get a job to stay busy. He had a job at Three Brothers Pizza down the street, Clinton. So one particular day, I went to pick him up. And when I went to pick him up, had smelled like marijuana. And I seen the car that he was waiting in. And I asked him about it. I said, hey, I said, you smoking? He was like, no, I ain't smoking. I was sitting in the car with my friend who was smoking. I said, boy, I ain't stupid. I grew up in these streets. I know you've been smoking. So he was in the back seat. And so I get home, I tell my then wife, what I smelled, what was going on. So she started investigating. And we went to, his iPad, his cell phone. And this boy was living a double life. Around us, around everybody, he was the sweet kid, that did, helped everybody out. But when he left these doors, this house, that threshold, he was smoking with the kids. So we live in a new community inside of Clinton. The homes around us are the older homes. So his friends live down across the way in the older homes, and he would go and we found out that their grandmom, their moms, and was a whole house full of people just smoking and doing all kinds of drugs because the police had to go pull them out of there. So we found out he was just living a double life. So I'm gonna cut it short. But my wife started taking everything. We started monitoring, and then I seen a change on him. I seen the continents, and I said something isn't right. I said he is not the same kid. He is not the same person. So I told my wife because I got a whole bunch of kids in here. I got to protect my. At that time, my daughter was born. She was 2 years old around that time, and we had our oldest son. He was in the Air Force, so he was gone. Now he's stationed over Andrew, so he's in the Air Force. And then we had our other son up here, and then my 8-year-old was here. So we had to protect. I had a whole house to protect, and I told her, I said, I don't trust him. I said something is wrong. I don't trust him. So she had me go stay with her mom. So her mom would drop him off at school. I would go pick him up so that he's not riding the bus, getting high and all that. So he would come back here, get clothes and things like that. So my wife would, when he come down, my wife would check him. This boy was had stashing phones. He had drugs, and he's smoking weed. He had stuff all hidden in different places. So this was going on for him. Probably around October to December. And then in January, he was gone out of the house, but then, she wanted to come back for Thanksgiving and Christmas, have the whole family here. So then in January, the school had COVID outbreak, and then that snow came, just like this 3 years later, the snow came, and we had that snow. So he was in the house. And he didn't go back to her mom's house, so we can monitor and things of that nature. But then my wife had gotten sick on January 5th, and she didn't know she had the COVID. She didn't know what was going on. Her heart was, she was just all. So I had taken her to Southern Maryland, and we was chatting all night. And then she said they released me in the morning. They want to keep me. Sometimes hindsight, I look back and say I wish they'd have kept her another day. I wish she would stay. But anyway, um, on January 6th, I went to pick her up, and then I picked up my other son who was working down at the IHOP. So I went around, picked them up, came back home, and this was our fasting period. We fasted in January, do 21 day fast. So it's our fasting period. So my wife came home. She went to take a shower. I told the boys to clean up so in the kitchen so I can fix the vegan meals. So they clean up. I fixed the vegan meal. I was sitting down on the couch here. My 8-year-old was one seat over. My 2-year-old was on the floor on her little Minnie Mouse couch taking a nap. And my wife was in my big chair that sits by the window. And she just wanted to recline and stretch out because she's been in the hospital all night. So the boy who did it, the 15-year-old who did it at the time, he's 18 now. He was sitting behind her in the chair, and then and I was just looking at her, and I was like, something is strange about this kid. So he went upstairs, and then my wife got up, and this is the first time in 27 years my wife ever said this to me. I've said it to her, but this is the first time she ever said this. She got up and she came around. She touched me on my head. So I have a bath. We have a bathroom. I'm in my business office now, and we have a bathroom right there. So she touched me on my head, and she said, "Best friend." I was like, okay. And I'm on the computer. She goes to the bathroom, and she comes back out, and she stretches back out in the chair. I'm on the computer working, and I hear this loud noise. We have this big old giant television on the wall, and I hear this pow pow. I'm like, "Hey, the TV awfully loud." So I look and I see my wife sit up, and I hear the shot again. Pow. And I see her sit back, and I'm looking. I see the silhouette of the boy. I see a silhouette of a person. I couldn't really focus at the time who this was because everything was happening so fast, but it was like slow motion at the same time. And I seen him turn and shoot my 8-year-old twice. Pow pow. So I'm like, oh, this is him. you know, this is that boy. I'll give him a different name. This is Isaiah, and I jump up. I didn't care what he had. I didn't care because I don't know. I just don't have this instinct of fear in me. I go to it. And especially if I'm saving somebody. And I just jumped up and I went at him, and he had the gun just like this, at point blank, and I'm probably about right here right here, and he fired it, pow pow, sent him ass, and yet the spirit of God. I'm telling you, it wasn't nothing but God. I mean, this boy fired it twice, and I seen the gun drop. And the bullet, instead of them striking me center mass, one went through my arm here and shattered and came through here. So it went to the big bone, the copper tunnel. And then I had to get rods all the way up in here. And then the other bullet struck me here. If you can see that. Struck. So they didn't know. And it actually ripped all this out. All that was like open. So they didn't know if the bullet was enlarged or anything. But at the time, I didn't realize I was shot, right? So in my house, the staircase here, you can go around this way with a business office and a living room, or you can go around by the butler's pantry and the dining room. So he came around by the business office and ran to try to get to the door. I went around the other way and I caught him at the door. And I'm trying to flank slam him. And then when I went to try to grab him with this arm, I realized I couldn't. And I said, oh, he must have shot me. I said, I must be shot. And then I started feeling a little dizzy. I was like, he must have shot me. So the Lord spoke to me. He said, let him go. And when I was trying to slam him on the ground, he had no expression on his face. He had no expression. He didn't say nothing. He had this blank stare. So I knew it wasn't him. I knew that whatever he ingested, whatever drugs he was on, he allowed a demon to come into his body and possess him. So the Lord said, let him go. So I let him go. He flew out the back door. I locked the door. I went to my wife. I knew they were gone because of where the bullet hit her in here. and it was instant. And then, where he shot my son, it was instant. And then my other son, he heard the commotion. He runs down. He said, "Who killed him?" And I'm like, he shot him. He shot him. I'm on the phone with the paramedics. I mean, with 911, and 911 showing up. And I know I'm gonna write a book and story, and I have to tell some things to embellish some of the stuff in here to make people understand. However, in that moment, standing in my living room, it was like a peace that surpassed all understanding that came over me. I wasn't angry. I wasn't scared. I wasn't in shock. I was just like, my son was hysterical. I said, Zion, they're gone. They're gone. He was going off. Only time I got upset is when the lady, the 911 dispatch operator, kept asking me the same question over and over,
Yeah.
and I kept telling him who shot him, who shot him, who shot him. I said, just send the paramedics and the police. And then next thing I know, they was coming, and one of the officers who came in was one of the officers who responded before to go get him out of the house, so he knew exactly. And he ran upstairs. I was like, no, he's gone. He went out the back door. So they had taken me into into the dining room while they worked on my then wife and my 2-year-old. I had Zion take her upstairs, and then took me to Southern Maryland and medevac me out to the new hospital over, I think, Regency over Atlanta. And I'm on a gurney, and while I'm laying there, the detectives there, and they say, "Hey, we have Sierra Fox from Fox 5 News, because it's all on Fox 5. The link is out there, and she wants to speak with you." So I'm on the phone, and we're talking. And by this time, they gave me a Dilaudid or something because I can start feeling the pains and the burns. So they gave me something, and I'm talking to her, and I think she asked me, and I said, one of the things that she asked me, she said, "Do you forgive him?" And I said, "Yes, I forgive my son, and I love him." You know, and then 3 years later, here we are. And 3-year anniversary, January this year, we had that same big snowstorm that we had 3 years prior. The same big snowstorm that hit.
Thank you, first of all, for sharing your story. It's a lot. It's a big story, and I'm so sorry for your loss. Like that's a lot, right? Like it's one thing to lose your wife and your son at the hands of anybody, but to also lose them at the hands of somebody you also love, right? Is is a lot. Let me ask you, where is your son now?
So he's in Baltimore. They shipped him from Cheltenham to Baltimore where he can get psychological treatment, drug treatment. Also, when he was in Cheltenham, he had passed out in the cafeteria. They took him to Georgetown and they did a brain scan on his a CAT scan on his brain, and found out that he had all these lesions inside of his brain and some rare form of multiple sclerosis. And we found out that he was vaping. He even stole somebody's vape pen. We found all these vape pens, so he was vaping. Then he started developing this cough in his chest, so we think it might come from the vape pens. And then whatever drug he ingested, well, he told the correction because he was delusional. He said, "Well, I'm getting out. I ain't do nothing. I'm getting out." He was delusional. He didn't realize that he killed them. He didn't realize he killed them and shot me. So then he broke down, and told him he had taken a whole bunch of Percocets that day. Now, when I went to pick her up from the hospital, I'm thinking the kid in the neighborhood down the street must have brought him up because my son went next door to the next door neighbor's house, who was a single mother and a single woman, and he helped to shovel her snow, and she paid him. So I'm thinking that's when he got, because we don't have any drugs in our house. We don't have any prescription. We don't have anything in our house. We don't have any alcohol in it. So I think when I went to pick her up, that's when he got that stuff. But he's in Baltimore in a detention. He has juvenile life. He had 2 life sentences plus a attempted murder on my life, and I wrote a letter to the judge saying that we should not criminalize mental illness. He's never been arrested. We should not criminalize mental illness. He needs help. You know.
Yeah. Is he able to get the help while he's
Yeah.
in prison?
Yeah, that was the recommendation from the court and the juvenile justice system, because they have a better program in Baltimore that can help them and isolate them from trouble, but also at the same time help them with and drug treatment, mental illness, and all kinds of treatment. Plus, he has to take that medicine for 6 months, every 6 months. And the first time I had realized, they sent me a bill for 75,000. But I have trachea, I have insurance that covered it. But now he's 18 years old, so he's legally a man. So the state covers that drug that he has to have every 6 months. So.
And what is the drug for the MS?
The MS. It's a rare
So
form. They
prior,
don't.
so
Mhm.
prior to this incident, you didn't know that there was a mental illness at play. You just thought it was a young person, your son, just experimenting or using drugs.
Yeah, we just thought it was the drugs he was taking in, because also my other son say, "Hey, this boy is hallucinating." We was like, hallucinating, and he came to our bedroom and he was like, "Spiders all over me, spiders all over me." We're trying to find out. Put him in a cold shower, but to kind of find out, he was at the grocery store and he stole a whole bunch of Benadryls, the little pink ones. And what I found out is if you take a whole bunch of those Benadryl pills, it takes you into a psychosis phase of hallucination. And we sat down and had them watching YouTube videos with all these kids that was hallucinating. So I think now his brain was now has shifted from a normal reality, to a false reality.
And the thing is, he was 15. It is very hard to get diagnosis for children who might have early onset mental health problems, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
serious mental illness. And so, my heart goes out to you and your family for having to deal with that. And for anybody, mental illness can be very hard on a family. And even when parents are trying to get help for their children, it can be very hard to
Yep.
get the help and to get the support that we need. So, I'm just truly sorry about all of this all the way around. And one of the things, like with my daughter, similar to you, I was able to forgive the person who killed her. Don't know who it is because this person's never been caught. But the real issue is that our kids are not born monsters. There's something that's happening that makes them turn into monsters, right? Like whether it's a mental illness or just with the wrong crowd or some trauma or deficits within their own family, right? But people aren't necessarily born monsters. And the forgiveness really is for you, because I said this to you before, like you and I both, we don't look like what we've been through, right? Like we're able to get out here and still advocate for mental health and advocate against guns. And not everybody is able to do. I'm not saying it bragging, because I would rather not have to do
Right.
this, but everybody does not have the wherewithal. Some people really really are suffering and can't do the work. So thank you for all that you do on behalf of, trying to educate people and share your story and, do something about mental illness and support parents who are dealing with children who are acting out. And I just want to say to families, if anybody's listening, or if you know somebody, that most communities have a mobile crisis unit where if you can't get your child to go, then mobile crisis will come to where you are, whether it's your home or an office, a school. Talk to the teachers and the guidance counselors at the school to let them know that you're struggling. I know a lot of times parents don't want to ask for help, right? Like they don't want people to know, because people feel like, oh, they're gonna judge me, they're gonna think I'm a bad parent. But it's okay to ask for help. Like we don't get any instruction books with these kids, and these kids got some new stuff. So ask for help. So mobile crisis is one, getting some help from the schools. There's another thing called CHINS, which is just child in need of services petition you can get for your kids, and you can do that through the court. If your child is a danger to themselves or to someone else, you can also get, in Maryland, it's called an emergency petition. In Virginia, it's called a temporary detention order. And in DC, it's called an FD-12, is where that person who is posing a danger to themselves or other people, they can hospitalize them against their will, right? Because we do know that the numbers for young people for suicide have gone up. So people aren't just hurting, they're not just hurting other people, they're hurting themselves too. And it is a rough world that we live in, and we do need to have some empathy and compassion for people, and not really be judgmental about people in their parenting, right? Because sometimes we're quick to judge. My mind goes to the woman whose son got killed by a neighbor. The kid was breaking into cars, and a guy he shot and killed the kid. And most people started off with, well, where was the mother? Why was it? Where was the mother? Ain't nobody asked about no father, not one person. Where was the mother, right? And so we have an expectation that fathers are not in the home, but we have an expectation that this young mother is not doing her job. And I don't know if she was or wasn't, but I always impress upon people that even if she had gone for help, there might not have been help, right? That even if we want to make kids take their medication, the law says they don't have to, right? And if we force the medication, then we're abusive. So, the things don't always work for us. So, and even working in the system for over 30 years, there are some programs that are helpful, but a lot of times they not as helpful because we can't force people to do it. So, again, thank you so much. I didn't know if you guys had any questions for James. Y'all stuck.
For me, I just want to thank him for sharing the story. I've heard it a couple times, and it's never easy for me. And I just commend him for being as strong as he is, because I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Because I tell people, I say to people, they're like, how do you get through it, right? Because one, I had a relationship with God. I put God first. I put him before
That
my wife.
part.
I put him before my wife, my kids, including myself, because I know that everything in life is temporary. I mean, we could be in the streets driving and all of a sudden they get killed or something happens. So God has prepared me for a lot of things. And when I tell people, I said, this plays out in my mind every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every month for now 3 years that I see this like a movie. I see it. I'm back in my house, the same house. I see it playing out, playing out, playing out. And been getting hit by a roadside bomb when I was in Iraq in 2007, and I came back here. I had to go through, some PTSD court classes and therapy for like 13 weeks. So along with those tools I learned, another tool that God gave me, and it said, learn to cope with it because the tragedy will never go away until you die. When the brain stops, that's when the tragedy ends. So you need to cope with it, learn to cope with it, because well, now I have a 5-year-old daughter. I'm a widow, single father, and I'm taking care of a 5-year-old daughter. So I can't crash out. I can't go inside of myself. So I stay busy, I stay active, I pray, and by me telling my story and helping others to get through the tragedy also blesses me and releases that pressure off of me as well. And that's how I get through it, and I just continue to pray for people, and that's you know it's not going it's not going anywhere, and that's
Yeah.
that's what I do.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that too, because that is a good one. Like in life, we want things to go away. We want to cure. We want to, fix it. And there's no fix for a lot of things, right? But we learn to deal with it. We learn to deal with life on life terms, right? Like, and I talk to my clients about this all the time. Change the things that you can, and
Right.
the things that you can't, you got to learn to cope with it, right? And so really just going through exercises of what are the things I can change, right? What are the things I can learn from this situation? And what can I do with it? Like what good can I do? And that's what you've done, is taking a really bad situation, a horrible situation, and done some really good things that will help other people, because you don't benefit at all, right? None of the
Yep.
stuff that you're doing is going to bring your family back. Let me ask you this question though. What about your other kids? Did they go through counseling?
So they're grown, and I encourage them. Like my son's in military, and my other son, they can get counseling through military one help sources, but I can't force them to go. You know, I tell them, if you're having problems, you're having breakdowns, whatever, talk to me or get some help and some counseling. And they're not. If I can say this, here's another big thing that so many people deal with every day, and they don't know how. The if or what could I have done? You couldn't have done anything. I couldn't have done anything. No matter what I try, no matter, I don't play those if or what could I've done, because what happened was going to happen no matter what. He already made up in his mind, because my wife and him was like this. They were very close. She went wherever they went. She took him because she didn't like men hitting on her. So she took one of the boys. But when she started taking everything from him and disciplining him in a way that he never been disciplined by her before, he looked at her as a total stranger. So when he got on those injustice, whatever he did, she was a complete stranger. And then he was jealous of the 8-year old, because he felt like he was spoiled, even though he was spoiled. He was the spoiled one. So, but I tell people, there's nothing you can do. They was like, well, how can I could have stopped my friend from committing suicide? You couldn't stop him. They already made up in their mind what they was going to do. So what you have to do is prepare yourself now how to deal with that tragedy and that trauma and turn it to a triumph.
Yeah.
Because 27 years is gone, and future dreams and aspirations that we had together. We was planning to rent this big old, the Airbnb, this big old house down in Florida, and stayed in it for almost a month. So we had all these dreams and aspirations. In a twinkling of an eye, they're gone. Life
Yeah.
is temporary. So
Yeah.
it's nothing you can do. So don't beat yourself up about it. Think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen no matter what. But just seek help. Find some way to talk to somebody you can trust, a therapist. For me, most of the time is me talking to God, listening to my gospel, spirit. And then I tell myself, like y'all was talking about, this stuff happened. I had all this stuff. I was going out straight, go outside. I couldn't find my keys. I'm stressing out. When those things happen to me now, I say, you know what? Devil, you a lie. Things gonna work out. And I celebrate my wins. I don't care if I get up to brush my teeth. That's a win to me. Everything I do now, I turn into a positive. Even it could be something, somebody could just bust my window, but it's a win because I went to get some tape to put up there to patch up the hole. So that's a win to me. I'm gonna celebrate that. I'm gonna turn the negative into a positive. And that's how I can keep on going and just like, you know what, devil, you're just trying to steal my joy. You can't steal my joy. You can crush my happiness because happiness is an emotion, just like love, hate, and everything else, but you can't steal my joy.
And it's interesting to me because we haven't talked about it, but very similar sentiments. I really feel um like our time to die, however it is, was written before we were born, right? Like, so you don't, people like, to me, people seem to want to think they have more control than they do, right? When it looks like you and I have accepted that we couldn't control anything. So I didn't have any issues like, well, maybe if I wouldn't have let my daughter go out that day, maybe if I would have did this, like, nah, it happened the way it was supposed to. I don't like it,
Right.
right? I would rather it be another way,
Right.
but I'm not God, and God is who God is, right? And he makes the choices. And so that really has helped me be able to accept even what I don't like, right? Like in my
Mm-hmm.
relationship with God, I feel like I could say, Daddy, I did not like this. Like, this
Right.
was not my choice, right? This was not how I wanted things to be. So it's just interesting that you and I have similar perspectives, having never discussed it or talked about it. So I do too, like you, believe that it's God. Again, we are a little over time, so if y'all have stayed with us, thank you so much. I see Veronica Newton, she says sincerest condolences. That's my cousin. Tamika, Miss All Day Collins sent praying hands to you. And my aunt Ethel said, to God be the glory. And I think, like, when we talk about mental health and wellness, relationship with God really has got to be a part. Like, it's the thing that when you see people go through and you don't know how they going through or how they got through it, most of the time it's God. I don't hear anybody saying, oh, it's because of this, it's because of that. I know when my daughter was killed, people was like, oh, you were able to get through it so well because you have a degree in psychology. I'm like, ain't nothing I learned in school helped me
Right.
through this. Like, nothing.
Right.
I ain't got no one book that prepared me for this. But it was my relationship with God, and of course my family and friends who really care for me and my immediate family when we were going through. So it's those things.
Yep.
So I will end with that. And let me ask, did anybody have any last things to say before we go into Marcy moments?
I was just going to piggyback on that the God piece y'all just spoke on, because, like he said, I never forget that accident in '88, and I never forget the one in '03 when I had my whole family in my truck, and the guy T-boned me and flipped my truck over. And just like that day, something said, "Don't get in the Bronco," and I got out of it. Well, the second time it happened, so I had a navigator, and I took for some reason, the back seat, the third row was in my garage. And I mean, everybody, all the kids was right behind me. Well, who else? Lil Jamie is in the back. I'm just leaving out. It was when we had Hurricane Isabel in '03. He's all the way in the back. I'm coming off my street. I said, "Get your ass up here with everybody else and put your seatbelt on." Yeah. I can't make this up. A minute later, I'm coming down Fort Washington Road, and this pickup truck is doing 60 miles per hour right into me. And I saw it, and all I could think was, don't let him hit me flush, right flush on me. So I tried to snatch it and speed and scoot past him, and he clipped my back wheel. My truck flipped over like 11 times. Mm-hmm. And when I say, I'm God, I'm gonna say that. That's why we all
God, say it.
Right. That's it.
Because when I came to, I didn't even have my seatbelt on. That's how quick, like I didn't even like put it on yet. I wasn't even gone but a minute from the house. And I ended up in the passenger seat. Mm. And when I came to, Brittany had took all the kids out the window. Raina got out her door. And they were looking at me, and I'm looking at them like, what just happened? Mm. And had no idea. Blood coming out of my head. The police came. He talking to me. He thought I was dead. Helicopter came, took me to PG. Like, it was crazy. Mm. So, yeah. So
yeah, I mean, give it to God.
He spared your life for a reason.
Yeah, we and it's no shame. A lot of times will say something sad, but like we just got to give credit where credit is due. Mm-hmm. Like God is keeping all of us, even when we don't know, right? Because there are things that He saved us from that we ain't got a clue. Exactly. Like you saved little Jamie, right? But God told you, tell him to get his tail right on the up in the of the seat. So I mean, I'ma just look. I am God's girl. No shame in my game. If people don't want to look at our podcast because we touting God, see ya. And I'm God's girl.
I took it as the distraction had me more aware because I was fussing, and when I saw him straight, I was back on the road, and then I was mad. I'm like, sit your ass down, And I look, and here come this phone. I said, is he gonna stop? I'm like looking right. I'm like, he ain't gonna stop. And then I just gunned it, and I tried to scoop past, and he hit that back wheel. Boom, 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 boom,
boom. God saved you for a time such as this.
Yeah.
Look what you're doing now.
Yeah.
He knows our heart and our mindset, and He knows our hearts, and that's why He keep us around. And He saved you for a time such as this. Each and every one of us. He saved us for a time such as this, because people really need us more than ever.
Yeah. Facts. Yep. All right. So, James, hang out for a little while. I'm gonna take you out. Marcy's gonna do her Marcy moments.
Okay.
And then we're gonna see y'all. We want to thank y'all for joining us on the virtual couch with our amazing guest, Mr. James Oxley. Thank you. If you are listening to us on the replay, make sure you hit us with a hashtag replay. If you have any questions about we talked about a lot today: parenting and mental illness, children and homicide and
forgiveness.
Let us, just if you have a question, ask, because we do look at the comments and we'll try to get back with you. Okay.
What's that? King James.
So I'm supporting Black businesses. And this
we didn't get a chance to talk about that real quick, y'all. Just bear
King
with
James.
us. Let's talk about that real quick. Thank you for that, James. So we're looking. It is nice.
I love me an ump.
Yes, it's the life symbol.
Turn. Okay, let me see. Good. Okay. There you go. Okay.
But the design is like awesome.
Yeah.
That's nice, man.
So real quick, let's talk about that briefly, because y'all know I got I 5 minutes before I gotta go. So we know that all of these big companies that we've been giving our money to have decided to back out of DEI. And immediately, right? Like some of them didn't even wait. And so some of the things that we can do to, one, support Black businesses, like James said, but also to be more serious minded about not giving our money to any company that really doesn't support us. Now, there are going to be some that don't support us that we don't really have no choice to, right? Like the grocery store. I can choose what grocery stores. I can do farmers market as much as I can, right? So we just want people to be very intentional about who they spend their dollars with. And even if you have to support Black businesses and it costs you a little bit more because we don't have the volume, then, please do that. Any other ideas that you all have about how we can not give our dollars where we're not respected?
I joined. So eventually, I'm gonna end up giving up my Facebook and IG. So I invested my money also into Fanbase, Isaac the third. So I invested in that. So now I'm an owner in there. But like you said, we have to start. Even Amazon, I canceled my Amazon account. So we should start going directly to the people who own these products, get rid of the middleman and go directly to him. There's people, Pastor Jamal Bryan and others, who put out a big old list
Yeah.
of Black owned businesses that we should start. I mean, they make detergent, they make toothpaste, they make deodorant, they make the same stuff that these white people make. We gotta hit them in the pocket. Target is hurting. You see, they're going down.
Yeah.
Elon Musk stock is going
James,
down.
do you have that? Do you have how people can get that
Yeah,
information?
I'll email it to you. You can send it out to your audience.
Okay.
Okay,
I
so
don't have it off the top of my head. I gotta
no worries. So anybody who's listening, just check with me in the next 24 hours. If James can get it for me, I will put it in a post because we really got to do something. Let me just tell you, the bus boycott in the 60s was not easy, right? Like people suffered and they walked for months they walked, and it was not easy to do that, but they would not ride those buses. And what I find about our people is we're not willing to be inconvenienced. But this is at such a time as this, we have got to be inconvenienced and got to find other ways of getting around anything that doesn't support us. Jamie, you were gonna say something?
No. Y'all got
Okay.
Heard them in the pockets. Heard them in the pockets.
They can also Google buy Black. And when you Google buy Black, a whole list of Black companies and entrepreneurs gonna come up as well.
Oh, I will add one quick thing. I met Isaac Hayes' sister when I was in Atlanta.
Oh wow.
He's supposed to have been connecting me and him to come over. I'm on Fanbase. I'm just not using it, but
right.
We were supposed to have a formal meeting about bringing my influence.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm waiting on that. We're supposed to be doing that. That was supposed to happen already, actually.
That's awesome.
So I'm not familiar with Fanbase. Can you give, because maybe our audience isn't either, can you give us a quick run of what that is and how we can use it and why we should use it?
Fanbase is just like Facebook, IG, and TikTok. They pay you. You can take all your TikTok content, all your information from TikTok, and you can transfer it to Fanbase. It's a social media platform. It's just Black owned, and he'll tell you why he used himself instead of using a white person to bring people in. And he's his capital is up to like over 8 million now. But they pay you. They pay you for your content and everything. You can video, you can do live stream, you can do the same stuff we're doing right now or IG, but you can do it like we on what StreamYard, but you can
StreamYard
actually
and then Yahoo. I mean,
yeah,
not
you can
Yahoo. I'm sorry, Facebook.
Yep, and same thing. You can actually stream and do live stuff right there in Fanbase. So you can do practically both, and you can create your. Here's another thing: you create your own house, your own club. So you can have your own separate club, that you want. And if people want to come in, they got to pay you. They can pay you, or they can pay. You can make money off the platform. So it's a social media platform for not just for everybody, but it's Black owned.
I love it. Thank you for that. All right, guys.
And should
Jamie, you done
invest
gave me a
now.
cold.
They should invest now before they go live with the stock, but invest now if you can. They're giving you money. Go to the investment page, pull a fan base investment, and they'll show you the information. It's through Starter Engine. But once they go public, you know, it's going to be too late.
Send us that all the information in email.
Okay, I will.
Thank you, James.
Great show, guys.
Yeah.
Always. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Jamie, you done gave me your code.
I sure
Don't
did.
receive it. Don't receive it.
Right through the screen.
It's my allergies. It's my allergies. I am rebuking a cold.
Right.
Listen, guys, thank y'all so much. Great show. Mr. Oxley, I'm gonna put you out for a second, and then we gonna head out, guys. Marcy, you want to give us your Marcy moment?
Yeah, I'm gonna shorten it just a little bit. I forgive myself and others with love, knowing that healing begins within me. Ashe.
Say that again, Marcy.
I forgive myself and others with love, knowing that healing begins within me. Ashe.
I love it. Ashe.
Amen.
All right, here we go, guys.
It's on the mic, bringing mental health, wisdom shining bright like a light. Guiding souls to peace, leading minds to the right. With her codes by her side, they soar to new heights. Marcy Trueheart in the mix. Mental health advocate, speaking truth, sparking change, grinding like a maverick. Empowering minds, lifting spirits, it's never too late. Together with the crew, just trying to do great. Jamie Tyler in the house, a TV star. Champion mental health, taking it far, sharing stories, inspiring minds, raising the bar, with codes by the side, reaching for the stars. Thursday therapy, breaking stigmas all around. With this crew, they here for the town. Mental health help, spreading love profound. Their voices echo loud with a resounding sound. Thursday therapy, here to make a change.
Yeah, mental health, you gotta look out for self. For real, it's so important, and you know we're here to help. Mental health and wellness, I can't stress it enough. Here to lift you up, hosted by Tyreese McAllister. Yeah, join the podcast, bringing good energy once a month. Yeah, every Thursday, therapy, talking self-care and radical resilience. Put yourself first, cause it's all about healing. Let's go. Yeah.